I think you're on mute, Ellen. Chair Nash.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Ellen Nash, Chair of the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission. And we welcome you this morning and we thank all of our wonderful commissioners for being with us today. This is Tuesday, May 17th, and we're starting at 10 o'clock. And we're going to call this meeting to order with a roll call.
I got to call the roll. Commissioner Anaya. Vice Chair Arton. Commissioner Kate Chasen.
Present.
Commissioner Kate Clark. Commissioner Cinnamon Clark.
Present.
Commissioner De Los Rios.
Present.
Commissioner Desert.
Present.
Commissioner Elliott Santos.
Present.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Commissioner Farouk. Commissioner Fowler.
Present.
Commissioner Garcias. Commissioner Gillies. Commissioner Griffin Jones. Commissioner Hassan.
Present.
Commissioner Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Ismail.
Present.
Commissioner Corey.
Present.
Commissioner Legaspi.
Present.
Chair Nash.
Present.
Vice Chair Murray Ramirez. Commissioner Perez.
Present.
Commissioner Herminia Ramirez. Sheriff Anthony Ray.
Present.
Edith, thank you. Commissioner Roberts.
Here, sir.
District Attorney Summer Stephan. Commissioner Villaforte.
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez Cruz. I'm sorry, Edith, you already had Commissioner, but you already spoke up. Thanks. And we have our quorum, Madam Chair.
Great, great. I would like to take this opportunity to open up with holding a silence, 1 minute silence in honor of the victims that were murdered in Buffalo, New York, and also in our own state, Laguna Woods. So could we just take a moment of silence? Thank you. Martin Luther King said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I've asked 3 of our commissioners, Commissioner Fowler, Commissioner Hodges, and Commissioner Clark, to just do a 1 minute reflection in honor of our victims, in honor of our country and where we are today. In that order.
Chair Nash, for your moment of silence for the victims around the country in Buffalo, New York, and up in California in Laguna Woods. Hate is something that's just very, it's hard to guard against it because we live in a free country and people are allowed to think what they want. First of all, I'd like to express my sorrow for the family members and the relatives of the people in Buffalo, the people in Laguna Woods, and for any other people around this country and certainly in this meeting that have family that are affected by this personally or have any distant relatives. I have a son, my wife and I have a son that's in law enforcement right here in San Diego County. And so whenever these type of incidents happen around the country, we worry about it because our son could be called to personally respond to any type of scene like that. So anyone on the call that has relatives or loved ones in law enforcement, I express concern for them also. But I guess we have an opportunity at this commission to do what we can for our region of the country, to knock down hate speech, to deal with people that are traveling from across great distances to come and act out on this in an open, free society. It's just terrible. And it's after over 50 years of what Dr. King marched for and Cesar Chavez worked on civil rights for this country. It's a shame that we're still going through this. We have a lot of work to do, but we have an opportunity here. And I'm glad that I'm part of this commission here in San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hodges?
The store Tops Market is right around the corner from my mother-in-law's house. My wife is from Buffalo, New York, and when I go there to visit, that's where I shop. And when I just got back in town yesterday, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was in Charlotte. But as I was in the hotel, I saw the breaking news come upon the television, and I told my wife to call her mother real quick to find out. Her mother didn't answer the phone for a while, so she got real nervous, and then she finally answered. Well, everybody was at a funeral, so it wasn't nobody there. But to my summation of this, the devil's job is to keep people in a state of confusion. God created everyone equal in his likeness and in his image, but the enemy likes to put things between us. He likes to stir up mess. And even before video games and social media, most young folk have behaved in this manner because of the sin that's inside of them and the teaching that they've received from their parents or their associates. How about the white supremacist gunman who massacred 9 Black people during Bible study at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015? And so we go to church and to have to be cautious. A white brother walks in to join us now, and we had to think, are they here for the good or are they here for the bad? I just had a person come in the Church of Yeshua HaMashiach and was disruptive there. I mean, so there was a suspect arrested in connection with the May 11th shooting of 3 women in a hair salon in the city's Koreatown. And that incident has been investigated as a hate crime and could be linked to a series of recent shootings at Asian-run businesses in the city. And so we have this church in Laguna. Well, it's my understanding that the Asians, they rushed that guy and hog-tied him. And that's kind of where I've trained my people. If somebody come in, you do your best to go to safety, but if we can get them, and then we pull them down until the police come.
Thank you, Commissioner Hodges. That's 1 minute. Thank you. Commissioner Clark?
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity today. I think my reflection today is that, as humans, we should be leading with love. It's hard to say that when we're navigating a world that we're inundated with images of hate and horrific crimes. But if we always lead with love in everything that we do, it's hard to overcome that. And just because we don't understand doesn't mean that we can default to hate. And navigating in fear is also not the answer. And often when we navigate it, when we act on fear and hate and all of the things that are ugly, it's because we're not doing the human thing and leading with love. And so I want to pay tribute to the victims and the families and all those impacted by the hate that we've witnessed, and to navigate this world as a woman of color and the mom of a young boy that will one day be a man. He's cute and fun now, but one day he'll be seen as a Black man and be feared just by nature of who he is and how God made him is terrifying. And I just ask that we lead with love and remember that at the core, we have more things in common than we have differently, and lead with love.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Now we'll reconvene the agenda. Want to acknowledge Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and I believe Commissioner Alex is here. And also, we also want to lift up Jewish American Heritage Month with Commissioner Gillies. There you are.
Is it me first?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for that moment of silence, Chair Nash, especially since those shootings were targeting marginalized communities. And the church in Laguna Niguel, as we heard, was targeted because it was a Taiwanese church. Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month recognizes the contributions and influences of Asian Americans and Pacific Islander Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. I pulled that from Wikipedia. Here locally and through the past few years, I'm proud of the work of the San Diego API Coalition and its member organizations who really worked to call out the rise in anti-Asian and Pacific Islander hate and violence that was happening throughout the country and even here locally. It's important to remember that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are not a monolith and that our lived experiences vary wildly, which is why the coalition and working in coalition is so important. The coalition itself has over 35 member organizations, all working on the different needs of our community. Just to name a few, there's the Alliance of Chinese Americans, Asian Solidarity Collective, our county's own Asian Pacific Islands Alliance of County Employees, Hindu Americans of San Diego, the San Diego Queer Apimata Coalition, Pacific Arts Movement, and Viet Vote, just to name a few. And so this month, I hope you'll take some time to celebrate our Asian and Pacific Islander neighbors, whether that be through supporting your favorite local business or visiting our website to learn more about how you can get involved with one of these organizations. Thank you so much, Chair.
Commissioner Gillies?
I can't hear her. Can everybody else?
No, I cannot either.
No. Is Commissioner Gillies here?
It says she left.
Okay.
She's back.
Oh, good.
Commissioner Gillies, would you like to speak?
I am trying. Is it working now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Thank you. Technology. I am technologically challenged all the time. I apologize. Want to thank my fellow commissioners for their beautiful words starting us off today. And yeah, what a tough time in our country. So I will just talk about Jewish American Heritage Month. Apparently was created in 2006 by George W. Bush. Jews have been in America since the mid-17th century, but immigration increased dramatically from the 1880s due to persecution in Eastern Europe. We are 7.6 million Jews across America, which means we are a mere 2.4% of the total US population. Fun fact is that 500,000 Jews fought in World War II and yet came home from that war and could not find acceptance, getting jobs in law firms and accounting firms, couldn't join country clubs, still, fighting for their country, but not accepted by their country. That's a story that I know many of you can relate to. There are a wide range of Jewish cultural and religious practices because also, as Alex mentioned, we are not monolithic as a group. And because Jews come from all over the world to America, you will see many, many different types of practices. I will add, based on the sad starting theme of today's meeting, that while we are 2.4% of the total US population, we are roughly 60% targets of all religious-based hate crimes across the country. So I think that says a lot. And thank you, Chair Nash, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Gillies. Commissioner Stefan, your hand is up. There you
Sure, good morning. I just wanted to make sure you know I've been on since 9:55, but I was just promoted to panelist, hoping that it's nothing I said last time, but I appreciate being on with my fellow commissioners and all of the remembrances that are so important. And I know that Ms. Nash, you've mentioned that we want to also be about action. So I think this is a reminder about refocusing regarding the education of the youth on the issues of hate crime to counter all of the radicalization that's happening online that's unfettered. So it's just another reminder about the urgency of educating our youth about messages of respect and messages that take away the hate of others. But thank you for allowing me to say something.
Thank you. Mr. Strong, we can talk about our teleconferencing obligations.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is our next item on our agenda is our monthly teleconferencing motion to ensure we can continue teleconferencing. And I'll just read it out loud and we can take a vote unless there's any discussion. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E, Section 3, a motion to 1, find on behalf of itself and all committees. The commission has considered the circumstances of the state of emergency and state and local officials continue to recommend measures to promote social distancing, and 2, direct the chair to review and make the required determinations as applicable to allow the commission to meet remotely at least every 30 days. No
I move
discussion.
to accept that.
I second.
I'm sorry, who seconded the motion?
I.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
All right, let's call the vote. Commissioner Anaya. Vice Chair Arton.
Aye. And I also just want to say I got here a little bit after attendance, so I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kate Chason.
Aye.
Commissioner Kate Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Cinnamon Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner De Los Rios.
Aye.
Commissioner Desert.
Aye.
Commissioner Elliott Santos.
Aye.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Farouk.
Aye.
Commissioner Fowler.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcias.
Aye.
Commissioner Gillies.
Aye.
Commissioner Griffin Jones. Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges.
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail.
Aye.
Commissioner Corey.
Aye.
Commissioner Legaspi.
Aye.
Sheriff Tony Ray, or Edith Sanchez on behalf of Sheriff Tony Ray.
Aye.
Commissioner Murray Ramirez. Chair Nash.
Aye.
Commissioner Perez.
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez, Herminia Ramirez. Commissioner Roberts.
Yes, sir.
District Attorney Summer Stefan.
Aye.
Commissioner Villaforte.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. All right, our next agenda item, Madam Chair, is public comment, and we've received 12 requests to speak prior to the meeting and 3 e-comments that were sent to the commissioners prior to this meeting. And I notice we also have a number of members of the public in the room, and if they wish to speak, I see a few folks raising their hands right now, and we can allow them a minute to speak if you like, due to the number of speakers.
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll start with the first member who requested to speak, and I have a Gus Hernandez. Okay, not seeing, oh, I see he does have his hand up in the chat. You can unmute if you are able to speak. Mr. Hernandez? Okay. One more call for Mr. Hernandez, and we can come back to you at the end if you're unable to unmute. Okay, we'll go to Christine Young. Christine Youngs. I'm not seeing Christine Youngs, but I do see Gus Hernandez. You should be able to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Gus Hernandez. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I live in Hillcrest here in San Diego. And today I'm calling to ask for the removal of Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. I've been following this drama for the last 6 months, and he has demonstrated that he's unable to fulfill the mission of this commission with his hateful rhetoric towards the LGBTQ community, which is causing real harm to our community. I ask that the Human Relations Commissioners vote to remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Christine Youngs. Calling for Christine Youngs. Not seeing Christine. Move on to Jared Godes. Okay, you should be able to unmute, Jared.
Hello, can you hear me?
I see you're unmuted.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Good morning. My name is Jared Godes. My pronouns are he, him, and I live in Ramona. I'm calling to ask that you remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. He has demonstrated he is unable to fulfill the mission of the commission, and his hateful rhetoric toward the LGBTQ community causes real harm. He has violated the code of conduct in his transphobic and homophobic public statements, and the county has confirmed the code of conduct can be applied retroactively. I ask that the Human Relations Commissioners vote to remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on to Luis Montero Adams. And I see you are in the room. If we can allow Luis to speak. All right.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Luis Montero Adams. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I live in the city of San Diego. I'm calling to ask that you remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. I've called in the past and I continue to support the voices of the LGBTQ community members that have been hurt by Commissioner Hodges' hurtful comments. I ask that the Human Relations Commission's vote to remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll move on to Cosimo Giovine. Forgive me if I did not pronounce that correctly. And not seeing that person in the room, we'll move on to Deja. And not seeing that person in the room. We'll move on to Jean-Louis. And I see Jean-Louis in the room. If you could allow him to unmute and speak.
Hi, my name is John Wipo, he, him, his, and I live in the city of San Diego. I'm calling to ask you to remove the Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. He had demonstrated unable to fulfill the mission of the commission, and his hateful rhetoric to the LGBTQ community caused real harm. I think that this 21st century, we should definitely do better. And it's his action defeat the whole purpose of this commission to begin with. So I would hoping that the commission will be where foster love and peace and affirmation on different, people and basically LGBTQ community members have been struggling for the long time to get where we are today. And seeing his hateful action just basically push it back to the time when folks like myself was struggling to come out to be recognized, to live a life in peace with love and know that we can actually, have that life. So please remove the person because they're just doing more harm to my community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We have Blake. I see there's Blake in the room.
Hi. Yeah, is it possible I can speak at the end of the meeting? I'm just in the middle of something. Hello? Oh,
Yes, Chair, we could come back to you towards the end of the meeting if time allows, and Chair Nash, if that's okay with you.
thank you.
Yes, if time allows.
Carlos Gillian. Okay, not seeing Carlos in the room. Jen French. Okay, not seeing a Jen French in the room. Joan Irving. Not seeing a Joan Irving. Isaac Snyder. Okay, not seeing Isaac Snyder either. We can go to the members of the public who had their hands up. I do see Jen French actually now. Jen, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jen French. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I also live in Hillcrest. In addition to AAPI and Jewish Heritage Months, today is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, Intersexism, and Biphobia. I too really appreciate the words spoken this morning, and I believe we should be united against hate in all forms. In that vein, I join my community members in asking that you remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission for the reasons already stated. His transphobic and homophobic public statements violate the code of conduct, and that can be and should be applied retroactively. Please vote to remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission so that we continue to move forward in love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we can now move to the members of the public who have their hand raised. And I see Yusuf Miller. Can you allow Yusuf to speak?
Hello, my name is Yusuf Miller. I'm with the North County Equity and Justice Coalition and the Racial Justice Coalition of San Diego. And thank you for the moment of silence for the tragedies that happened this past weekend, both in Buffalo and in Laguna Woods. White supremacy in Buffalo has been a cancer to this nation since its inception, and it continues to this day. It's a cancer that we need to cut out, and we need to encourage and enforce that our elected officials cut out this cancer from our community by doing proactive steps to neutralize white supremacy in our nation. And for our Asian Pacific Islanders, the tragedy in Laguna Woods, this issue was, of course, an example, an emboldenment of the hateful rhetoric that we see throughout this country that was acted out in a terrible manner. And I think that we need to wrap our arms around the AAPI community just in case there's some backlash from this event, given the current anti-Asian hate that's going on, Asian hate that's going on now. And I'll also like to say I stand with my LGBTQ brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Yusuf. Moving on to Rebecca.
Good morning, Chair Nash and the commissioners. My name is Rebecca Hotel. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center, I want to thank you all for starting the meeting off with a moment of silence to honor the victims of these horrific shootings. We all should be united against all forms of hate. I'm calling in for this commission to remove Commissioner Dennis Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. Commissioner Hodges has made statements in this meeting and in writings and in the press that are discriminatory and are hate speech against the LGBTQ community. His statements, including repeatedly saying he could never and will never support the LGBT community, are in opposition to the mission you all are here to serve, and disqualify him from serving on this commission. For 6 months, we've been waiting for this commission to update its bylaws, and you now have the power for removal and are well within the bylaws to do so. I ask you to signify to the county that outright discrimination and hate speech from an appointed commissioner during a commission meeting and in the press will not be tolerated in San Diego County. Please join the hundreds of community leaders who support his removal and vote to remove him. Thank you.
Moving on to Helen Waldigorgis.
Good morning, folks. My name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I live in the city of San Diego. Like so many others before me, I am joining you all today to ask that you remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission. His hateful rhetoric toward our LGBTQ community over the last 6+ months causes real harm, and he has demonstrated time and again that he's unable to fulfill the mission of the commission. He has violated the code of conduct with his transphobic and homophobic public statements, and the county has confirmed the code of conduct can be applied retroactively. So I am asking that you all vote to remove Commissioner Hodges from the Human Relations Commission today. Thank you all so much for your time.
We have a call-in user without a name, call-in user 1. If that is you, feel free to unmute at this time. Okay. Person I think left the chat. Francine Maxwell.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Francine Maxwell, Chairwoman of Black Men and Women United. I'm calling on behalf of the 1,000 people that are ready for the HRC to turn the page. We are excited about the new bylaws. Clearly, people can't read and they're not retroactive. So let's move on and let's put the energy in things that we can change. I wanted to thank the chair of the Public Safety Committee for a wonderful meeting yesterday. And I'm hoping that we're going to parlay that into a town hall to educate people about things in the sheriff's department that has been enacted and what are their future plans to save lives. I also want to be assured that people, if you listen to Dennis Hodges, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is he loves all human beings. So let's push that. Let's love on each other and let's move past this and turn the coin. Let's put our effort into what happened at Lincoln High School a couple weeks ago that has gone unreported, where a Black student and a Hispanic student got in a fight with the knife. The Hispanic student was stabbed in the leg. The African-American student has slashes in their hands. Let's begin to heal. Let's get active on what's happening with our youth on these schools and things that are underreported. It may not be a hate crime, but 2 nationalities fighting with a knife and not their hands. Houston, we have a problem. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Blake.
Let's see. Okay. Hi, I'm a homeowner and resident in the Hillcrest neighborhood of San Diego City. The Human Relations Commission should not be promoting biological males and females to be legally classified and treated as the opposite sex. This is against scientific information, facts, and logic. As a gay male, I must speak out against a trans movement that has taken over the gay community and the Democratic Party. Gay people have extra credibility when speaking out against the movement. I'm aware that many gay people are very afraid to speak out against the movement, which is homophobic and anti-gay. The misguided movement seeks to completely erase biological sex from society and reduce a person's sex to just a feeling and costume that can be changed at a moment's notice. Trans and trans equivalent identities, such as non-binary, are just paths to medicalized conversion therapy, which is harming countless closeted gay children. This is the primary issue with trans. Many adult trans women hide that they were secret bisexuals and closeted gay prior to transitioning. That is why they are still sleeping with a woman after transitioning. Professional lie detector tests would reveal that charade and help confirm there is no such thing as biological trans. The American Psychological Association has been grossly negligent with its current handling of a natural experience that occurs in closeted gay children and adults that I personally call excessive opposite sex image envy. The vast majority, if not all of us gay people, have personally experienced this opposite sex envy during childhood.
Blake, I apologize for the interruption, but that is 1 minute of your time. Thank you.
I thought we get 2 minutes.
No, you get 1 minute due to the number of callers that we had today.
Oh, okay.
Arrow Marie Glass Blake.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, we hear you. Okay, perfect. So I first want to say thank you to those of you commissioners that I do see out in the community doing the heavy lifting, particularly Chair Ellen Nash. Thank you for being at the rally last night in regards to our brothers and sisters in Buffalo. I also want to acknowledge all of the individuals that are a part of the trans and LGBTQ community who have reached out to me and called to give context around Pastor Hodges' words, around the Christian community and the words that we use in context. I also want to acknowledge the Muslim community who have made it very clear that they feel impacted and targeted by not only the bylaws and the censoring and the silencing by the LGBT and trans pushing a particular agenda around silencing individuals, particularly in the faith community. I just want to acknowledge the 150 faith leaders and pastors who sent out a letter, and everyone, like Ms. Francine said, we are willing and ready to have the hard conversations, do the trainings, and move forward. And so I thank you for the opportunity and the time. Thanks.
Moving on to Art Hodges.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I actually was not planning on speaking, but I was listening to the meeting and notice again that they're bringing up the subject of dismissing Pastor Dennis Hodges. And I want to again speak in favor of not taking that kind of action on two bases. Number one, again, he is representing what is stated in your bylaws as a demographic that should be represented in these discussions, and that is the religious community. And so his views he's expressing are truly held biblical views and values. And while they may disagree with perhaps even most on this commission, they do represent a significant number of the populace here of our 3.5 million in San Diego County. So those views do need to be heard and expressed. And this is the perfect type of setting for that to exist in. And secondly, I really don't think that you can retroactively pass a rule and a bylaw and try to make that apply retroactively. And if that does happen, our attorneys are standing by to litigate this. So I think it's an unnecessary step. And why invite the litigation? Everybody, I think, will agree to live within the bylaws going forward. So please don't squelch or censure Pastor Dennis Hodges' voice. I think he's speaking his truth in love and the truth of many believers, and frankly, the truth of the scripture in most instances. So thank you very much.
Madam Chair, we have Info Faith Freedom. Your hand raised to speak.
Hello, Commission. I also was not planning on speaking. My name is Netta Higuera. I
spoken previously, I'm an attorney and I represent Mr. Hodges. And I just plead with you to not make this into a lawsuit and not kick him off the commission for his speech and his religion, which will be a long litigious battle. I don't want to engage in that. I have other things to do, but I just want to remind you that that is guaranteed. I give you my word, that's what's going to happen. And we're going to waste resources and time and energy on that. So please do the right thing and do not kick someone off the commission for their faith and their speech. Thank you.
We have Lori Saldana.
Hi, good morning. I was just speaking at City Council regarding the vendor ordinance. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it strikes many of us in the community that many of these vendors are from some of our most disadvantaged community members. And they are struggling to have employment, and they create their own employment with the vending carts that we are seeing increasingly around our parks and beach areas. And I just testified at the City Council about the importance of training some of these small vending cart owners on business management practices and partnering with the community colleges that does free training to give people business and accounting skills. And I wanted to approach this group because I think you work on diversity and equity and equality issues, including economic opportunities. And I thought maybe you could issue a statement in support of, rather than punishing people who are struggling to survive and have economic opportunities for themselves and their families, but partner with the city to develop partnerships on and the.
I apologize for interruption, Lori Saldana, but your time is up after the minute.
Oh, I thought it was a 2-minute comment. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Madam Chair, not seeing any additional hands to speak. I do notice Commissioner Corey's hand is up. But we can't take any action on what has been spoken on during public comment until item number 15 that you have in your, or I'm not sure it's 15, the last item on the agenda in regards to discussion of community raised issues. So just to note that.
My apologies, I had it erroneously up.
Thank you.
Okay, can we go to subcommittee updates?
All right, subcommittee updates, and this is for subcommittees who would like to provide an update. For the award subcommittee, I don't believe you've met yet this year, but I believe y'all are planning to meet soon. Communication subcommittee members would like to provide an update. And I believe Commissioner Anaya typically provides the updates for this, and he is not on the call today.
I am on the call.
Oh, okay.
However, I don't usually provide the updates, but I can provide the update that we did not meet last meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Legislative subcommittee actually has an item on the agenda. So if they would like to provide an update here, or they could pass until their item comes up on the agenda, and I'll defer to Vice Chair Arton.
Can we do it now? Let's just go ahead and provide the update and the issue.
Okay, so you want to move that item up on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Chair. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so the legislative subcommittee, our last meeting, we met with Nadia from the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs to talk to her about which legislation the County of San Diego is supporting, and that's state legislation. And she went over a few of them. If any of you are interested in finding out what type of what state legislation the County of San Diego is supporting, you can visit the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs website. They have their legislative platform on there. But to move on to the main thing, or the call to, or the action item, or the motion for today, as we have brought up in previous meetings, Since we meet with the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs, the Legislative Committee would like to, like represent the HRC. Therefore, we are asking that the HRC authorizes the Legislative Subcommittee to provide input, feedback to the CAO, Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs, and Board of Supervisors on county's legislative programs and priorities in consistency with the commission's mission and priorities. So that's our motion today. I think if we can take maybe a vote, unless there are any questions or comments or anything that anyone else from the subcommittee would like to add.
Andrew, is this the place where appropriate to clarify the role of the legislative committee within the infrastructure of the County of San Diego?
If that's, yeah, absolutely. If there's a question about, are you speaking to the subcommittee itself? Or are you speaking to the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs? If you're speaking to the subcommittee itself, the subcommittee is definitely established to advise, similar to the HRC itself, but to advise the CAO and specifically our Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs to support the legislative priorities of the HRC and community members. So, and the subcommittee itself cannot, or the HRC cannot lobby or support individually bills through the subcommittee to the state legislature. But what they can do is support and provide letters of support to OSIA and the CAO and the Board of Supervisors for that fact to ask for the county to support certain bills and legislation, if that's helpful. Not seeing any up. Okay, I see Commissioner Perez, your hand is up.
Thank you. I'm on the Legislative Committee subcommittee as well. So that is actually what we're asking, I believe. And other committee members, please clarify if I misspeak. But just to be able to write something on behalf of the Human Relations Commission when it's in a need, when the timing is short and it requires a response sooner than we can get docketed and get on an agenda. And of course, it would be run through the chair. But I think that's exactly what we're asking for, because we're seeing that sometimes by the time, something happens, and then by the time we can take any kind of action, you've already gone through, oh, we don't have a meeting till next month, and then we have to get on the agenda. And so there's a lot of things that have to happen. And sometimes by that time, I mean, some of the stuff, I don't want to sound, but it's never going to be old news. But what I'm trying to say is by that time, sometimes some of the action, then it's almost a little too late, And so I think it's important that if this is the role that's been entrusted in us as a legislative subcommittee body of the HRC, that you would trust that we would, of course, present something that would be appropriate, and then absolutely bring it to the commission in full if we do something like that. So I think we're just asking for the authority to just be able to take some sort of action as to an immediate response when it's required, running it through the chair. Other subcommittees, if legislative committees, if this is my understanding, but please chime in if I'm misspeaking here. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can add, yeah, thank you so much, Commissioner Perez, for providing that context. I feel like I should have provided more context. As I mentioned earlier, we meet with Nerea from the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs at every legislative subcommittee. And she gives us updates on state legislation and what's happening, and which legislation the county is supporting, and so on and so forth. The legislative subcommittee does meet more frequently than the HRC does. And as we all know, legislation moves very quickly. So the ask again, as Commissioner Press said, is that if there is a legislation that we feel like the HRC should provide feedback on, but we might not have enough time by the time that the next HRC meeting is, this is just to authorize the legislative subcommittee to represent the HRC and to give input.
And Chair Nash, I do see Commissioner Roberts' hand up, but Rachel Witt wants to clarify from a legal standpoint, just the scope and mission, a little bit more clarity than what I said. So if you can allow Rachel to speak.
Great.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that the bylaws, Article 5, Section A, talks about committees, and it's that the actions and recommendations are not deemed actions of the commission and in no way bind the commission or its members. So they really are advisory to the commission. However, this particular motion is not asking to write letters. It's specifically authorizing the legislative committee to provide input and feedback to the Chief Administrative Officer and the Office of Strategy and Intergovernmental Affairs. And so that is certainly consistent with the bylaws. And so it would allow for the feedback of the legislative committee to give that direct feedback. It just wouldn't be on behalf of the commission as a whole, but rather by that legislative subcommittee. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Commissioner Roberts.
Good morning, everybody. Commissioner Roberts here. I don't have a problem with this, but what I'd like to ask is if we do something like this, is that the anytime that there's an action taken by the committee to make a recommendation, that the entire committee or commission be notified, so that if there is a counter proposal or a counter thought, that we also get that opportunity to make that presentation or make that comment to the Chief Administrative Officer and the Board of Supervisors. So.
Commissioner Corey.
What I understood from legal is that the legislative committee can go ahead and suggest to the county board of supervisors through their legislative arm to do certain things, and that at that time, specific time, the HRC is not the one that is proposing. However, if we come back, the legislative subcommittee to the HRC later on asking for their support, and if they support it, then it becomes an HRC issue. Am I right or wrong?
I believe Rachel Witt just commented to me that I believe you are correct.
Thank you.
Unless there's any other misunderstanding on behalf of the other subcommittee members. All right, not seeing any other hands to speak. Madam Chair, would you like to speak on this?
No, I agree with the legislative subcommittee, and thank you, Estela de los Reyes, and also Commissioner Vice Chair Watan. I agree. Things are moving really, really quickly in terms of legislation, and we want to support in any way possible with regard to input and feedback. So if this is the process that complies with
Chair Nash, you went on mute.
I suggest that we go ahead and proceed with the vote and move this this motion and support this motion by the legislative subcommittee.
Okay, Commissioner Roberts, I see your hand is raised.
I make the motion, or to amend the motion to add that all committee members are notified at the time that the the opinion or the input and feedback is made to the list of people there. administrative office and things like that. Just, it's a concurrent thing. When you send the information to them, all committee members get a copy of it. Commission members get a copy of it.
We second that motion.
Okay, and just so we clear, it's the motion on the screen in addition to notifying all committee members when input is given.
That is correct.
Excuse me, this is Commissioner Corey. As long as it doesn't become a debate again, because once the committee or subcommittee decides, it's just for information, the material will be passed to everybody else. So it's not meant to be a debate. Am I right?
That is correct. I just want to be aware of the communications when they're being made.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, we also have, do have the motion and the call to vote. We also have Edith Sanchez and Commissioner Evans. Well, I think your hand just went down, Commissioner Evans. Is that correct? Or would you like to speak?
Yes, Commissioner Corey basically said what I was going to say.
All right. And I
We
think,
cannot have future debate over this.
okay. And I also see a member of the public's hand is raised. If you'd like to have Lori Saldani speak.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, I would, as a former assembly member, we looked to guidance from local organizations on legislative matters impacting your community. And I strongly encourage this to move forward with the amendment that the full commission approves anything before it is sent up to the legislative offices that are introducing bills and policies that you're commenting on. I think that's the normal procedure. And I hope that you will also take a strong position on AB 2343 once you get this procedure worked out, because I met with the new sheriff, the acting sheriff, with others recently regarding Dr. Weber's Saving Lives in Custody Act. And the sheriff's office is not willing to step forward on this, and the state sheriffs oppose it. This has to do with the audit that I and others pushed to get done on deaths in custody. So this is needed, just this subcommittee is needed, your recommendations are needed. And as a former legislator, they are welcomed and useful when we make our deliberations in Sacramento. Thank you.
And just to clarify real quick as well, the motion is to provide feedback and input to county entities, not to the state legislature, but to the county on support for legislation in certain bills. So not to provide direct feedback to the state legislatures. However, like we did earlier this year, right? The HRC sent a letter to OSIA and the CAO stating the legislative priorities that they hope to see within the county's program.
This is Commissioner Corey. Yes, you are right. However, we represent in general parts of the community, and accordingly, whatever we represent can still write the legislator directly, not as HRC members, but as organizations. I want to emphasize this. Thank you.
All right, not seeing any other hands up, Madam Chair, we can call the vote.
Okay, let's call the vote.
Commissioner Anaya,
Aye.
Vice Chair Arton,
Aye.
Commissioner Kate Chason, Commissioner Kate Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Cinnamon Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner De Los Rios,
Aye.
Commissioner Desert,
Aye.
Commissioner Elliott Santos,
Aye.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Farouk,
Aye.
Commissioner Fowler,
Aye.
Commissioner Garcias,
Aye.
Commissioner Gillies,
Aye.
Commissioner Griffin Jones, Commissioner Hassan,
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges,
Aye.
Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Corey,
Aye.
Commissioner Legaspi,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray Ramirez, Chair Nash,
Aye.
Commissioner Perez,
Aye, and thank you for the support on this.
Commissioner Herminia Ramirez, Edith Sanchez on behalf of Sheriff Ray,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
District Attorney Summer Stephan,
I'm going to abstain because as DA, I take my own positions on different legislative pieces and I don't want it to appear in conflict. I don't expect a conflict, but I think it's safer to abstain.
thank you. Commissioner Villaforte.
Aye.
And Madam Chair, that motion passes.
Excellent.
So we were on our subcommittee updates, and let's get back here. And do you want to continue the subcommittee updates, Madam Chair, with the policies and procedures subcommittee update, if there's any there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are there any updates on our policies and procedures subcommittee?
Okay. Seeing none. Public Safety Subcommittee, I know they met last night. Would you like to provide an update, anyone?
I can provide a quick update.
Hello, this is Chair
good.
Estela
She's
de
here.
los Rios. So we had a Public Safety Committee yesterday. Sheriff Anthony Ray gave a presentation on keeping our jail safe. We've had a series of presentations and we have some action items for our next meeting. But we are moving along, getting assessments on different resources on mental health, homelessness, and we look forward to having more of a conversation, transparent with our sheriff. He was very open and willing to speak yesterday. There was questions even regarding the audit. So it's the first conversation, and it has to be a issue that we can connect with law enforcement, and this is what our goal is, that we can work around making our community safe, and that includes our incarcerated and our homeless and our mentally ill. So anyway, that's our update. Thank you very much. Unless any other members want to add.
Hey, Chair Rios, this is Rodney Fowler. I would just like to add that I know someone mentioned at the last meeting, I think it was either last meeting or the meeting before that, I don't get the updates for the subcommittee on my email, and I will, when I get finished, I'll let Andrew know my email address so he can updates, please.
That's great, because right now we're in the process of deciding when we're having our meetings, but normally there are Mondays at 5:30. So thank you, Commissioner Fowler.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see Commissioner Roberts' hand up, but we also have a couple of members of the public with their hand up wishing to speak. Commissioner Roberts.
I just wanted to comment that, yeah, we had a great meeting last night, but we didn't have a quorum. The third, we kind of all agreed to meet the third Monday of the month at 5:30. And unfortunately, we didn't have a quorum. We had a really, really good presentation by Sheriff Ray. And I really encourage everybody to be at those meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. I agree.
Okay, would you like to allow the members of the public to speak, Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
So we
1
have-
minute, please.
Okay.
Still
No.
have to. Oh, yeah.
Lori Saldani.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to hear that there wasn't a quorum so you can conduct your business because lives literally are at stake. And again, as someone who has worked with Yusef Miller and others on the deaths in custody initiative, saving lives in custody, getting the audit done, and now an additional audits done by the Community Law Enforcement Review Board, we know that San Diego jails are quite dangerous for people once they are put in detention. We have the highest death rates. And I'm really fearful that as the homelessness situation, with the new report coming out, we're going to get a lot more people arrested if they refuse to go into shelters that are not really suited for many of them. They'll wind up in jail, in custody. And that is a public safety concern that I really encourage this commission to address. The zero bail system is ending, and that means more people will stay in jail longer. And COVID is not over, and we have a very high risk of additional deaths in custody from COVID, drugs overdoses, and related problems that the audits have just determined.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that is the minute.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I see Blake.
Hi, yeah, I thought I would comment since this mentions public safety and mental health. I'm just finishing what I was talking about earlier. I had been previously talking about the trans issue and this concept that excessive opposite sex image envy. This experience in closeted gay children and adults can lead to the behaviors and feelings that psychotherapists are now outrageously and improperly classifying as trans. Check out
Blake, I'm sorry to pause your time, but this is on the public safety subcommittee item. This is not on the non-agenda public comment.
Well, I'm talking about jails and also shelters where they're allowing trans people into them. And there are many people concerned about public safety on that issue. So I'm commenting about trans. So that is on topic. So yeah, back to my comment. Daily mental medication, synthetic hormones, and fake sex change surgery should never be an option for closeted gay children dealing with their opposite sex envy. It is my understanding that certain scientific studies have shown that a large proportion of sex dysphoria children grow out of their dysphoria discomfort once they become adults, and they also come out as gay in adulthood. Each legal intersex subcategory is legally and scientifically classified as either female or male. The proper testing for each subcategory has zero to do with how a person feels. My community is not the LGBTQ plus alphabet soup community. It is the gay community.
Blake, your time is up. I did pause your time when I paused you earlier, so that was a minute. Thank you. We have Commissioner or Vice Chair Murray Ramirez's hand is up, and we also have Francine Maxwell, who's a member of the public. Okay, you should be able to speak now, Vice Chair.
Yes, I was just wondering when the my proposals would be voted on.
Commissioner, Vice Chair, I didn't receive any proposals unless the chair.
I'm talking about the Holocaust Museum and the.
Those are on the agenda. Those are those are items number 13 and 14. So we have a couple more items before that, and we.
Oh,
Mr. Chair,
all right.
those up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Francine Maxwell.
Good morning, Francine Maxwell. Just wanted to ask if we could be mindful of the time. We only have Sheriff Ray for a small amount of window. And so if we could consider holding some special meetings to get some information pushed out to the community through the HRC, that'd be great. Completely excited about the next election and whoever the community decides to put in that position. But we have an opportunity to educate our community on things that are occurring right now, changes that have been made right now. If the HRC could take the lead and schedule some things, that would be my request, Madam Chair, for Public Safety Committee for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any more hands to speak. Any additional discussion on the Public Safety Subcommittee? All right, not seeing any. Youth Subcommittee. You have anyone on who would like to provide an update?
Kate, Commissioner Chason had to leave, so.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to our next agenda item. And I do see Commissioner Desert's hand up. Would you like to speak on this agenda item, or would you like to speak on the previous or?
This one, agenda item 7.
Okay, Madam Chair, we can move on to our discussion. And this item is a continuance from last meeting to continue discussion around this topic. So Commissioner Desert.
Good morning, fellow commissioners. I want to resolve and move forward from the issue of retroactivity and Commissioner Hodges' removal. First, there is nothing in the bylaws that makes the code of conduct or the provision to remove a commissioner retroactive. There were comments made at the Board of Supervisors meeting, but there was nothing in the motion made by the Board of Supervisors or in the code of conduct provision to require retroactivity not be possible. If this were to apply to our decision today, it would have to either be by a bylaw amendment or in the motion, neither occurred. So I'm happy to hear from council, but since retroactivity was not included in our bylaw amendment or in the motion made by the Board of Supervisors, it's clear to me that this retroactivity issue is being used as a delay tactic to postpone the inevitable here and continue the harm that began in February by having someone on our commission who says in his own words that he can never and will never support the transgender or gay community, and has described our LGBTQ community as sinners and as an abomination. This point is really important here to all of us and the work we have to do and the opportunity we have today to turn the page and move forward together in accordance with our mission, which is to promote positive human relations, respect, the integrity of every individual, regardless of gender, religion, culture, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, or citizenship status. In our discussions and our dialogues here at this commission, we're going to encounter moments where we disagree and when some of us need some further education. But this is not the case here. This is a commissioner who has spoken in appalling and dehumanizing ways consistently and repeatedly about our LGBTQ community here in our commission meetings, causing harm and trauma, and then doubling down on those comments, writing in letters to the chair, to the press, and in the public. Once someone says that they can never and will never support a group of people in our community, a group this commission is supposed to defend, they should be removed immediately, as their own words show they cannot serve this commission and continuing to be a part of it hurts the integrity of this group and our ability to do our work. I want nothing more than to move on from this, but we cannot have someone who's a part of this commission who so clearly doesn't believe that our mission is real and that it applies to our LGBTQ community. This has been a painful period. This has been going on since February, and it's time for this commission to fulfill our mission, our bylaws, stand by our code of conduct, and demonstrate that Commissioner Hodges is unable to serve this commission's mission fully, and he threatens the integrity of this commission. So I move and I make a motion in accordance with Rosenberg's Rules of Order for the removal of Commissioner Hodges for cause and effective immediately.
This is Commissioner Ramirez. I second it.
This is Rachel Witt from County Council. This motion and the topic of a specific removal was not noticed on the agenda, and therefore no action can be taken on the motion.
Under Rosenberg's Rules of Order, you can make a motion related to the agenda item. Here we have agenda item 7, which includes a continued discussion of the bylaws, the code of conduct, and their applicability to commissioners and their behaviors and statements.
I understand the Rosenberg Rules of Order. I'm referring to the Brown Act, which is a state law which requires actions to be taken by a legislative body must be noticed, and that motion was not noticed on the agenda, and so my recommendation would be to not take that action today.
Rachel, would the substitute action be to discuss it during the item on the agenda that talks about discussion of community raised issues, to potentially put something on the agenda for a future action?
So this is an informational item and discussion related to the bylaws. There is an agenda item 16, which is to discuss community raised items that were discussed during public comment. And it's clear that the only action that could be taken under item 16 is that the commission could vote to have a matter that was discussed in public comment to be placed on a future agenda. So under item 16, that would be appropriate.
Madam Chair, we have Commissioner Fowler's hand up, and we also have two members, Commissioner Murray Ramirez hand up, and Francine Maxwell from a member of the public. So we have Commissioner Fowler.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes, here's Andrew. Thank you. I just appreciate the commissioner's opportunity to speak and make a motion that was seconded, and then we had council rule on it. I think it's out of order. But the other thing is that, in all transparency, those of us that were on the meeting that started all this, that spurred all this, Commissioner Hodges recused himself. He did not want to vote, and that is something that keeps getting left off. We just came through a weekend of violence across the nation where lives were lost, and that will probably be a pattern that continues on. And we keep getting stuck in the mud, in the weeds about issues that we've already resolved. The Board of Supervisors resolved this issue, and they gave us a pathway to move forward if we allow ourselves to do that. And it's just unfortunate that this keeps coming up. I have members of the LGBTQ community in my family, and I care about every human being. I think Pastor Hodges has tried to demonstrate, he's communicated that in comments today and in past meetings. I would hope that we can get past on this, and we have members of the public that have the right to speak at this meeting, and they commented. But the Board of Supervisors said that we're not going backwards, and this is not retro. I would just hope that our participation and respect of everyone's time and effort in these meetings is that we can continue to move forward. Thank you.
We have Commissioner Vice Chair Murray Ramirez. Would you like to speak on this item, or is your hand a legacy from the previous item?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I apologize. My mouth it just came from the doctor, so I have some bandages in my mouth. You know, I worked, as many of you know, for 30 years to get this commission reestablished, and with Ron Roberts and Bonnie and Nathan and so forth. And never did I think this commission, any human relations commission, that let alone the county or city, would be in this situation. I want to make it also very clear. As a Latino and an activist for over 50 years, I have worked with many Black ministers. I have worked with Reverend George Stevens, who many of you know was very anti-gay, but we found where we could work together. And we worked with the Martin Luther King, trying to get a street in his name, and also the convention center. He actually introduced me to his church. At the same time, the man would not sign any document, proclamation that had gay in it. And he just did not believe. But, and others that I have worked with, no minister has ever in my lifetime stated that someone was an abomination. I too am religious and spiritual. And what I want you to understand is the effect it had on our fellow Commissioner Judy Legaspi. She has not been the same. She's a very religious person. In fact, the Filipino community elected her a president of one of the oldest traditional Catholic Filipino societies in the Catholic Church. So when this started, and Akara can tell you, she's not been the same. She's been going through a lot of emotions and a lot of sadness and hurt. And we're very concerned about her. No one of our commissioners should have been subjected to that. To say you're an abomination, it seems that some commissioners are thinking, well, this is just difference opinion. No, I've worked I'm willing to work with people who don't share my views. I'm willing to work with ministers that don't share my view and have, like I said, from George Stevens to George Walker Smith, to Bishop Kinney. I've worked with them, and knowing that many of them did not support the gay and lesbian community, but none of them, you have to understand, what was said was condemning Julia Laddafi to hell. For someone spiritual like her, and then he not only then condemned Julia and trans, he then doubled down and condemned that we were an abomination, also the LGBTQ community. This is so, for us that are spiritual and religious, it's just unbelievably awful. And I'll close at this. I think many of us are involved in our communities and in politics and so forth. I have never got so much, just this. It's been in newspapers, editorials, talk shows. We are being defined by this. This is not going away. We need to address this issue, and we need to take some action, because anyone who says that someone is an abomination and subjects them to hell, that's hate speech, and that does not belong on this commission. Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, we have several hands that wish to speak. We have some members of the public, and we also have Commissioner Naya, Commissioner Perez, and Commissioner Desert. Would you like to go with the members of the public first?
No, I would like to honor the commissioners
Okay.
first and then the public.
Commissioner Naya?
Good morning still, or good afternoon. I want to try and keep my comments very direct, very short here. I think there is a overwhelming agreement that everybody wants to move this on and get this done with. Now, what the resolution to that is, I think everybody has different opinions on, and that's fair. So I will attempt to share mine and try to stay, try to remain direct and not mince words too much on here. I do believe in the way that I've been raised, and I don't say this jokingly. I've actually had a lot of conversations with folks about this, including a lot of folks in my community, and I do believe myself to be a person of some faith here, and literally last evening prayed on this on my own and just said, where do I stand on this, and where do I want to go with this? And one thing that keeps coming into my mind is that it all starts with words. Everything starts with words, and words are very powerful. And to have, and what Commissioner Nicole just said really hit home, to have someone feel dehumanized in our group is not okay. And I have to challenge this group. If we took this out of the space of our LGBT brothers and sisters, if we took it out of the space, and that was said about any one of us in any other way, members of our African-American community, members of Latinos are an abomination. I will guarantee you that that would be just as loud, if not louder. And it's not fair that we're allowing this conversation to continue. And it just needs to be settled. To me, I can take the emotion out of it for a second and think to myself, it's about a job description. Let's be frank. If you cannot do the job, then step away or have someone else that can do the job. I am 100%, and I like what Commissioner Murray said about, I have worked with folks who I don't agree with and probably will never be on the same, agreement on a lot of things, but we can be respectful to each other. There's a job description here. There's a mission to this commission about working with all communities. And if you can't work with, if I came at you right now and said, I can't work with members of our Black community, then I shouldn't be on here, right? That's just the reality. We are brought together because we are meant to work together to get through these issues. But if you simply cannot do it and are unwilling to do it, then you know what? There are other avenues for your voice to be heard. It's just not this committee. Just like there's certain groups that I don't agree with. And you know what? That's not my place to be involved with those groups. There are places for those voices to be heard, but this committee, it's for us to be able to bring those differences and have conversations with each other and dialogue. And if you cannot have that dialogue or are unwilling to, then go to another spot. So my recommendation on all of this, as much as I'd like to have this resolved today, either through another agenda item, because I understand Brown Act, I understand all that, or if we need to schedule it, let's just get it done. Enough is enough. Let's get it done. That's my comments for today.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes, hi. I hate to reiterate what other people are saying, but I think it's important to speak our voice on something that's so important to many of us. And in one of the last meetings, I heard some of the comments that were said, and they were acting like we were trying to punish someone, because of their vote. And to me, I don't consider this as a punishment, more of accountability. This is not a punishment. We're not punishing you, but we are holding you accountable to your words and to your actions. And I think I just agree with Commissioner Anaya. We can agree to disagree, but this commission was established to promote inclusivity and positive human relations. So that is the job description of this committee. And I don't fault anybody for not wanting to sit on it. That's fair. But to sit, to serve, and then in a sentence that you're saying you love someone, but then you're turning around and calling them a sinner and an abomination, that just is conflicting. You possibly can't say, I love you, yet you are an abomination and you're a sinner. There's no love there. That's not love. I mean, I think a lot of us, from what I've seen through this commission, there's a lot of spiritual people on there, and that's not love. I don't think anybody would consider that in the same sentence. And it's almost disrespectful every time I hear somebody say that, oh, he loves everybody. Well, that you're not showing it then. And actions, they do speak louder than words. So I too would like to, if we need to call a special meeting to just hold this vote, do the noticing that we have to do and call a special meeting, I think then we should do that, because I thought there was a conversation at the last meeting that we were supposed to, somebody called for this item, and it might have been me, to be agendized for this meeting. And now I feel like we're just being made to jump through hoops to this, and we're spending a lot of time and energy on this because I think a lot of us are just not going to accept no for an answer. So we're going to take it to the limit. How are you sitting on a commission of something that you don't respect? Then yeah, there's a lot of other committees. This just may not be for you. So I would like to walk away on this one with either there's going to be a special meeting. We're definitely going to request that it be agendized for the next one and the proper noticing be done, and we call for a vote. But having an issue like this hang from February till now because we aren't able to make a decision, and we take steps forward, but then there's always a step backwards. So I think we just need to end this issue. And if you don't agree with the commission's mission and vision, then don't sit on this commission. But respect does go both ways. Thank you.
Commissioner Desert.
I'm concerned with what feels like delay tactics and unfairness. I asked at the end of our last meeting for this to be the first thing that we discuss in this meeting so that everyone could be heard, including members of the public and all the commissioners, and that we could move on, because I know that we all want to move on from this issue. But in order to move on, we have to schedule this vote. And that didn't happen. We had a long discussion again about subcommittees. I hear council saying that we can't vote on things that aren't aren't noticed in the agenda. We have taken several votes today, including one from the subcommittee that was not noticed on the agenda. And so how is that different? I'm not sure. That feels, really unfair for this issue. The Brown Act does allow for a motion. A legislative body may not take action on an item not appearing on the agenda, and here's the exception, except to respond to a statement made or questions posed by the public during the public comment section. We heard numerous members of the public addressing the issue of Commissioner Hodges and his statements. And so I see no reason why we can't move forward with a vote and resolve this so that we can move on and get to the important work of this commission. We need a vote. It deserves it. Our LGBTQ community deserves it.
And Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to respond to that legislative item was noticed on the agenda. It had a separate item on the agenda that you asked to be moved up during the subcommittee report out. Commissioner Legaspi.
I think of all the commissioners, I am the one who is most affected emotionally, physically. I'm not a lawyer, an educator, nor a preacher, but I am a human being created in the likeness of God, capable of hurt. I have kept my silence. I refuse interview because I leave it to the lawyers and the educators to argue. I'm kind of sad that we have to go through this for a simple item that I requested in November. It had affected me ever since, but I'm also glad that something positive came out through this. You saw firsthand what transgender people in the LGBT community had to go through on a day-to-day basis. But somewhat, we're headed to a positive direction, and I hope the implementation of the code of conduct, the rules of order, and the amendment to the bylaws is a positive way. Thank you to my fellow commissioners for all the love and support. I thank Kara and Alex Villafuerte for all the love, and all the commissioners that have been sending me wishes and regards. It has affected me so much. I've been in the hospital. So I hope something positive would come through this, and so we could move on. But this item has to be taken care of. Thank you.
Commissioner Gillies.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat what my fellow commissioners have said, but I really feel outraged that we're having this conversation again. And, we know that words have consequences, and yet it doesn't seem to be happening in this case. As Commissioner Anaya said, if this were about any other minority, if we were swapping out any other minority for the trans community, we would not even be having this conversation. It would have been outrageous. It would have been done. We would have voted. And to have this go on and on, it's a shame on this commission. And I don't know the laws. I feel actually today that we are being threatened by lawsuits, which is outrageous to me. So I am asking, how do we get to the process of voting as soon as possible? If we have to have another meeting and we have to agendize it, 24 hours in advance, I will be sitting here tomorrow morning at this time, ready to vote. We need to put this to bed. We have other work to do, and we need to respect our LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Mr. Corey.
Thank you. I have heard a lot about this matter for the last several months, and I agree with everybody that it is time to put it to rest. Erasure of, as a Palestinian American, I hate and I continue hating to be erased. You cannot erase a community that exists. And accordingly, I strongly recommend that either a special meeting take place or find a certain way of getting this to closure, as everybody said, because that cannot continue. We were here today to meet for 2 hours to discuss important and other issues, and we need to put this item completely behind us. And accordingly, I move with emotion. Let's have a special meeting. And even when I am in Palestine next week, I'm willing to go ahead and connect, even if it is at midnight when I am down there. So for God's sake, let's finish with this situation. Thank you.
Madam Chair, not seeing any other commissioners' hands to speak. I think the best way to move forward after your public comment may be to move up agenda item 16 for discussion, to place a future item on the agenda. And then you could have those discussions about what came up in public comment and determine how you want to move forward from there.
I've heard everyone's voices. I've heard the public's voice. I've heard when I say voices, I'm talking about voices in support of the LGBTQ plus community, also in support of Commissioner Hodges. I've heard all of it. Some of the statements that some of the commissioners have made, I personally disagree with. But I have my own belief system, and I stand on my own belief system. As I sit here today, I'm sitting here in fear of my own life. I sit here in fear that if I go to the grocery store, I may not come back. I walked into the mall yesterday and I turn around and go back to my car because I am scared. Some of the names calling that you referred to today, I personally experienced myself. These are the kinds of conversations we need to have in town hall meetings and forums, and not just in a 2-hour commission meeting. You get nothing done, but people walk away with the same attitude as well. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm mad. I bring a whole lot of stuff though. I bring a whole lot of experiences about hate, about words, where I've been attacked. Biblical words that I felt dehumanized growing up in the church, myself personally. So I want to make sure that we're all clear here, that this commission is about promoting positive human relations. And there are all kinds of voices that need to be heard. Some of it hurtful, some of it painful. But a lot of it needs to be resolved outside of this commission meeting. It needs to be resolved in town halls where we spend hours and weeks at a time sitting down and hearing our own experiences, sharing our own pain. I can identify with both sides. But when it comes to, I also believe in structure, and we have bylaws. And yes, it's taken a long time to get here, but we started with a pitiful set of bylaws that were thrown together to get this commission stood up. And now they've been addressed, and we have a code of conduct, which is it's not unusual. I walk into the beauty shop and there's a code of conduct. I walk into the grocery store, there's a code of conduct. There's nothing common, nothing new. So I want to just say that I've heard both sides, and I'm willing to call a special meeting and also in consultation with our legal department, who knows best. I am not an expert in this. I listen to the attorneys, the legal aspects of it. I listen to the voices. I take it all into consideration. But we need to, again, I agree, we need to move forward. There is way too much on the table, way too many issues. What I'm scared to leave my house because I might not come back. And I'm dead serious. So let's move on. Let's call a special meeting, whatever the notice requirements are, put it on this on the agenda, and let's take the vote. And let's move on as soon as possible.
Okay, and I believe, Rachel, if you want to let me know if I'm correct, I believe you have the authority to just call a special meeting. You don't have to take a vote on that. So we can call a special meeting. Is that correct, Rachel?
That's correct.
And also, so the agenda item would be to discuss the removal of Pastor Hodges. Is that what I understand to be correct? All right, so we will call a special meeting. And if you would allow us at least a few days to put that together and notice if we could have it planned for early next week, potentially on Monday, pending calendars. So I'll circle back with you, Madam Chair and the Vice Chair,
Okay.
to schedule that special meeting for next week.
Monday will not work for me.
No, okay, but we'll talk, Madam Chair, not to delay the
Okay,
issue.
sooner than later, of course, but Monday won't work.
Okay, so we'll talk.
Okay.
So we will get that special meeting scheduled, and not seeing, oh, I do see Commissioner Villaforte's hand up, but we still have 3 members of the public, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And also, it is 11:40, and
Oh.
I know there were a couple of items that Vice Chair Ramirez really wanted to get to today, support in a couple of items, item 13 and 14. So Commissioner Villaforte?
Hi, I just wanted to clarify that the meeting is not just to plainly discuss the removal, it is to vote, correct?
That is correct. And we'll talk to council to make sure we have the correct noticing requirements and the correct listing on the agenda so folks know what it is. Would you like to go to the members of the public, or would you like?
Please, yeah, let's just, yes, if we run out of time, we'll move on. We'll put everything else on the next agenda.
Okay, Francine Maxwell.
Good morning. Thank you. I just wanted to add to clarity that Pastor Hodges abstained and he was attacked. He was pushed to talk. You don't know when you push somebody in a corner what's going to come out. If a Black man would have been respected when he said, I abstained, then you would have moved on. You didn't ask the rest of the people that abstained. You went after the Black man. The same way in Buffalo, the young 18-year-old went to the same area the day before, and a Black person gave him a soda because he said he was thirsty. Then he came back the next day and he slaughtered people. So when somebody says, you want me to take something out of context, put Black in it. Pastor Hodges, a Black man, was to answer the way that Christian Black man pastor was supposed to answer. If his abstention would have been good, you would have moved on from the meeting. So make sure that the public gets the full notice so that this orchestrated what happened today in public comment and continues to happen. The rest of the people can tear their constituent bases as well to come to this special called meeting. No holds bar. Leon Williams is not with cancel culture. Leon Williams thinks that everybody loves everybody and should get along and move past this. But to remove a Black man, you need to remove Leon Williams' name from this HRC.
Arameek Glass Blake.
Yes, thank you. So in this whole situation, I can't say I've remained neutral, but I have really continued my conflict resolution work and really working with everyone and hearing all voices from all different sides pertaining to this issue. I was there the day on the call when everything took place. I was there to talk about what, and me and Summer Seffin don't always agree, but in these particular situations, I agree with her when she said we need to focus on education and focus on what we need to be doing in the schools. And I was on that call that day to talk about what was taking place in the schools and ask and plead with you all to step forward and do the hard work that needs to be done. Unfortunately, everything that has been taking place in our communities and in our schools has taken a back burner honor to a particular agenda. When we want to talk about Pastor Hodges, this is so much bigger than Pastor Hodges. This is so much bigger than Pastor Hodges. And I say this is because I've heard from the LGBTQ plus community, a larger community that want to actually have these hard conversations, that have family members who believe the same way Pastor Hodges believes. I come from the same church community that Pastor Hodges comes from, and we do not agree on everything. The difference is in the community, the faith community, I don't care if you're spiritual, I don't care if you have different faiths. We are all people. We come from different denominations, we come from different religions. And the reason why we go to different churches is because different leaders believe different ways. We have the ability to express those beliefs.
Aramik, I'm sorry to pause your time, Aramik, but that the minute is up, so we're allowing folks a minute to speak.
Andrew, you didn't give a minute for this particular item, and there's been so many people that have spoken for a long period of time. And so I would like to continue with my statements. I will close it up, but I think it's very important if this is going to be the last conversation, because this is going to cause so much division in the community. You know that, everyone on this call knows that, and to say and compare Pastor Hodges to what happened in Buffalo is such a disrespectful comment to all these community members and all these commissioners who say they stand with the Black community. And to compare what he said to what happened in Buffalo is disgusting. I'm disappointed. And I will work with Ms. Francine and everyone else. If we cause this further division, I will work to make sure that this commission is dissolved and that the Leon Williams name is off the commission, because you all do not.
That's enough. Okay.
Can we close that discussion?
Let's Aramik, wrap your comments up. I don't want this to get out of order at all. We're all adults and we're going to respect each other. Aramik Glassblake, wrap up your comments. Thank you.
Like I said, Ms. Chair, I just want us to do the real work. There's been so many conversations. Some of your commissioners showed up, some of your staff from the county showed up. People do not want to do the real work. And that's all I'm asking. We're coming from a place of love, but this is causing so much division amongst our different communities. And a lot of us want to work together and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
So we have Blake.
1 minute, Blake.
Hi. Yeah, I just thought I would comment. One of the commissioners mentioned a comment about erasing a community. As you guys heard, my position on trans, and I feel that it is erasing gay children. And I think this is an extremely serious matter, and no one has really delved into that perspective. There's plenty of adult detransitioners that are coming out more and more, that this is an absolute mess and that they should have never went down that path, and they do 100% agree. And this sort of medicalized conversion therapy is harming gay children. And I'm just hopeful that people will start to, discuss that kind of perspective. And I'm just hopeful certain gay adults will not be selfish and not continue to harm future gay kids. And every gay kid that comes out as a trans equivalent label, to me, is one less gay kid. So thank you.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be quiet. Okay, first of all, I want to clear up two things. One, sorry, Blake, but you're absolutely incorrect. There are multiple ways that people get into the trans community. And if you start quoting people like Walt Heyer, there's a real issue with your credibility about detransitioning. Okay, so that's a completely different subject. I want to clear up exactly what I did when we voted on the support for the Transgender Day of Remembrance. And since I made the proposal and made the motion, and Commissioner Lagasse seconded it, and we had the vote, and it was approved by 100, everybody but 2. And so on my own volition, trying to find consensus and seeing if we could all get together, I asked both abstentions, one of which was a representative of Sheriff Gore, who subsequently got clearance to vote for it. And I also asked Reverend Hodges to, why if there was, and the way I stated it was, is there a way we can come together on this? And so it wasn't, I wasn't reaching out. I certainly wasn't picking on Reverend Hodges as a Black man. I was trying to gain consensus for the motion that Ms. Legassi and I proposed. So anyways, please don't entertain any more of the philosophy or the thought that we were going after a particular Black man. And, if you look at it, I was one of the targets of his comments. Well, I'm not very religious, and I have been called an abomination so many times about multiple things. And I'm afraid a lot of that has actually come from within the communities that I belong in. And one of those happens to be the LGBT community, and they consider me an abomination for some of my political views. So, people, words have consequences, but the big thing we got to remember is we got a much bigger picture to work on here than and
Yes.
unfortunately, there are people in the community who believe as Reverend Hodges does, and it is incumbent on us to include all those people in a conversation. And anyways, I'll be quiet now. I just wanted to get that one clearance out and rebuke Mr. Blake from the public. So anyways, have a great day. And we got about 6 minutes before we need to be out.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks for all of the comments today. I'm sorry we didn't get to everything on the agenda, but this is important, and we need to call, we'll take our direction from legal and from Mr. Strong on when we can call that special meeting. And I want everyone to really rethink and reflect, as I'm doing, on where we are and why we're here. And I've taken every comment, everything very seriously. And yes, I've been affected emotionally. I'm going to be transparent. I don't personally feel that even some of the conversations we're having during this commission meetings are appropriate. They should be in a town hall or a forum. And as Ms. Blake just pointed out, that's the real work. That's where you get the work done. That's where the pain comes in, the hurt, and all of it comes in, and we come out differently educated. A lot of this is about a lack of education. I'm going to say that again. It's a lack of education. It's ignorance. It's not in a bad way. It's ignorance because we just don't know. If you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of this, I want you all to take this into seriously consideration. A lot of this is a lack of education. I will be 69 in November, and I thought I knew it all. But let me tell you, going through the commission and learning all of you and listening to you, I am learning a whole lot through this experience. Yes, it's been a long time, but it has been an education experience. And I know for me personally, and for a lot of you on this call, it has been an education experience as well as our public. And we will have to continue these conversations, and we will have to do the hard work. I'm talking about Robert's Rules of Order. When I talk about education, it's a lack of education on even how to run a commission, bylaws, rules of order, the importance of how to respond to an abstination, how to make a motion. A lot of it is a lack of education that brought us here today. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm just letting you know it's about lack of education. ignorance, but in a positive way. So if we're all willing to learn from each other, and I always say understand each other by getting under each other, where each other stand, then we can get an understanding about each other. And I want to thank you all today for being here. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the agenda items, but I'm very conscious of your time because we do all have to go to our own places of work, but we have a whole lot of work to do in this country, in this city. And people are killing each other. And we need to take that very seriously. I would like to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.